On the side of the U.S. Constitution, America first.
You know the swamp is real. The deep state exists. It is broad. It is deep. But it's okay. It's not just the president that's fighting the good fight. There's an organization that has been draining that swamp for years. You know what it is. It's Judicial Watch, judicialwatch.org, and the man who heads their investigations. It's been too long since he's been in studio, but we have him back today. Chris Farrell, welcome back to America First.
Thank you very much, Seb.
You guys, you burn the midnight oil 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So much to discuss. I thought I was adequately cynical to work in this city, but the latest findings that you have managed to get your hands on with regards to the man and his family who is the putative nominee for the Democrat Party to run for president are truly stunning. They leave you speechless, which is bad if you've got a national radio show. Talk to us about what Judicial Watch has found out with regards to Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and the U.S. taxpayer.
So we looked for travel records of Hunter Biden tagging along with Dad on various trips.
When he was vice president.
Correct. And the Secret Service came back to us with records detailing travel, and it's pretty astounding. It's at least 411 domestic and international flights to a total of 29 different countries. And within that, 5 separate trips to China. So that's the Secret Service telling us that's
50 flights, 50. It's one a week for the 8 years of the presidency.
It's an astounding number. And it is, you want to talk about abusive process and leveraging government position for personal privilege and power. I mean, this is a textbook example of Dad's the vice president, and I'm going to wing my way around the world, and I'm going to play off of his very important position. And everybody knows that I'm the vice president's son, and I'm here with him. Let's smile and handshake. You know, you get to read between the lines. And that's how a guy who really has, zero credentials, right, zero credibility, wings his way into China and comes out with, a $1.5 billion deal plus some. Right.
And this isn't, for those who are not familiar, we've had Peter Schweitzer on the show many, many times. This isn't something new for the Biden family. The Hunter's first job was at the credit card company that was under his father's purview as the chairman of the committee in the Senate that was rewriting the laws on credit card companies. That's his first job,
right,
decades ago.
And Delaware is a state that
right,
has a legal structure that facilitates or encourages a company like that, a credit card company, to operate there. It's very beneficial. It's a good environment for them. And surprise, surprise, the senator from that state is in the middle of it. And who's tagging along for the ride and picking up the...
And getting the job.
There you go.
And then all the way, decades later, to riding on Air Force Two to Beijing with his father, the vice president, who has been made point person, not only for Ukraine policy, but China policy, and returning back from China with a $1.4 billion investment deal with the Communist National Bank of China. Do you have any figures on comparative, members of families traveling with their dad as vice president?
Sadly, no. I mean, because frankly, we haven't had to look at it that way.
Right.
But, this was not him going off to some far-flung place in the world to do charitable good work.
To be an ambassador of goodwill.
He wasn't bringing vaccines to
orphanages.
Exactly.
Right.
This is not. I mean, these are trips to Argentina, France, Spain, Canada, Belgium, the UK, Denmark, South Africa, Hong Kong, China. I mean, these are not, horrific scenes of devastation and.
He's not going to Bosnia or Haiti.
Right. No death, disease, and civil war. This is all, stopping at the Ritz-Carlton and having a few drinks and chatting with your friends.
And saying, oh, by the way, did you know that my father is the Vice President of America?
And we're in town today to have a conference, and wouldn't it be in your best interest if I represented you?
Incredible. God bless you. God bless the whole team at Judicial Watch for doing what you do. You never give up, and we are so grateful to you. He's Chris Farrell. He'll be back with us in a moment. I'm Sebastian Gorka with Chris Farrell of Judicial Watch. Support them, judicialwatch.org. Follow them on Twitter at Judicial Watch. Chris, one thing that's never been adequately dealt with is the rank arrogance of the Obama administration. There was that interview, that long piece on Ben Rhodes, the Deputy National Security Advisor, where he literally said to I think it was the Atlantic, that journalists are just idiots and we just play them like a fiddle, and laughing about it.
Right, a failed novelist.
Yes, a failed novelist whose qualifications to work in the national security arena were his MA in creative writing, his MFA, his master's in fine arts in creative writing. He did a lot of creative writing in those 8 years in the Obama administration.
Indeed.
Talk to us about the arrogance and how it connects to things like Benghazi.
It goes all the way back to 2012 when we sued to get records because of the outrageous lies that the serial liar, Susan Rice, of course, is on television, 5 different programs on Sunday, putting out this fake story.
Right after the attack.
Right, and trying to blame the attack on a internet video that was, the whole thing was a lie from beginning to end. But what's really horrific is we've now gotten 80 new additional pages, all on our website, judicialwatch.org. You can go and read them for yourself. And there's Ben Rhodes and a guy named Tommy Vitor and another guy named Jake Sullivan, all of whom are, in Obama/Clinton world. These are all operatives of the president and, of course, then Secretary of State. And they are in email laughing and joking about how they are being portrayed as liars and leakers. They are openly, arrogantly, smug, smirking, condescending little quips and remarks and emails with absolutely zero accountability, no attachment to the fact that an ambassador and 3 other Americans were murdered brutally in that terror attack. And they are just yucking it up, thinking it's a big laugh, a big blast, how they're slowly telling the truth, and it's evolving, and they're liars, and sure, well, at least they're really not leakers. That would be worse. And they're making fun of people who are legitimate whistleblowers because the way they do it, they do it with pride and finesse. And I mean, it is some of the most arrogant, obnoxious stuff you've ever read. And
for your information, I don't know if you've done this, but out of some perverse sense of curiosity, I actually checked out their podcast last week. So they have a podcast, which is very modestly called Podcast Save the World. Okay.
That's very humble.
And it just drips. I listened to, I could manage about 8 minutes of it, and it drips still today in 2020, that unfettered arrogance, that dripping condescension for anybody who isn't them. So they haven't learned anything. While the streets of America are on fire, churches are being burnt. There's no introspection in these people who see themselves as, I guess, untouchable. Chris,
they're the self-anointed ones, right? They have special knowledge, and they're really just a little bit smarter than everybody else. And like you said, the condescension's outrageous. The detachment, the way in which they are somehow able, through this sort of elitist, insane mentality, that they are able to detach from the tragedy, the violence, what these 4 Americans suffered, let alone their colleagues, their families, their friends. How they do it and how they smugly think it's cute and funny, and they flaunt it. I mean, the arrogance of how they flaunt what they're getting away with is also something that just makes your stomach roll over.
We're talking to Chris Farrell. He is head of investigations, director of investigations for Judicial Watch, one of the most important organizations out there. Support them. Go to judicialwatch.org. Check out those incredible new documents. Follow them on Twitter at Judicial Watch. In the last minute and a half we have with you, I have to ask you the question that all of our listeners want me to ask you across the country. Do you still have faith in the investigation into Operation Crossfire Hurricane, in John Durham, in Attorney General Bill Barr, the recent releases in the last few weeks with regards to Michael Flynn, with the White House memos about Obama knowing about all of this? Do you still have faith that before the election we'll get some ground truth?
I do. The only asterisk or caveat would be speed, right? Justice,
timing.
Justice delayed is justice denied.
Yeah, it's something that's got to happen very, very quickly.
If the shoe were on the other foot, there'd be lightning indictments, and for some reason, they're not quite moving at the same speed as others have been dealt with.
Do you have any sense if that's just a function of circumspection, that this is an AG, or any kind of feeling about?
I'd be guessing, I'd be speculating, so I'm not really comfortable doing that. All I know is the time is of the essence, and if they're going to do something and move, they have to do it now. Otherwise, if they do it in October, everyone's going to scream, aha, October surprise, it's a political setup, blah, blah, blah.
I think Bill Barr knows that.
I'm quite certain he does.
We've been talking to Chris Farrell. Follow them now at Judicial Watch. This is America First, live streaming on YouTube, on Facebook, available on Instagram TV, where podcasts, everywhere they're available, you can subscribe to us. Don't forget, we put all of our interviews, the monologues, up on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notification bell twice, because that's how sneaky Google and YouTube are. You won't get notifications unless you hit it twice, and you won't miss a thing.